First contact with doubt, if you ask anyone on the rimward trade lanes, they'll tell you nobody expects much from an old, rusty human ship. So when the battered silhouette of the United Human Ship Resolute emerged from the jump corridor into the CONTESTED Drellin system, the aliens in orbit did more than just notice. They laughed. The Resolute was infamous in the fleet registries for being ancient, stubborn, and patched together with whatever humanity could scrounge inside the bridge. Captain Mara Holt watched her crew work with the focused, calm confidence that only came from years of survival against the odds. On her right, Sarah, the chief engineer, ran diagnostics on systems older than both of them. Beside the comms station, navigator Otis tapped at cracked screens patched with old Earth tape. Mara sipped the last of her real coffee, savoring the taste of something earned. On the main display, a cluster of Syndicate warships drifted into an intimidating formation. Sleek, chrome-plated, bristling with weapons, they looked like sharks, circling an old fishing boat. "Incoming hail, Captain," said Otis, hiding a smirk. "They seem amused." "Put them on," Mara said, her voice even. The screen flickered to show Admiral Iraq's tentacled, blue-skinned alien in a uniform that probably cost more than their whole ship. Iraq's looked at Mara as one might look at a museum exhibit. Curious, superior, and faintly disappointed. "Human vessel," he said in the musical language of the Syndicate. "You are trespassing in Syndicate space. That relic you're flying belongs in a scrapyard, not a battlefield. Power down and surrender. We promise to tow your crew back in one piece if you ask nicely." Mara let the insult slide off her. "Admiral Irax," she replied, "this relic has crossed more systems than your fleet has seen. We come in peace, but we don't surrender." The Syndicate bridge erupted in laughter. Across the Resolute, her crew watched the display with stoic faces. They'd heard worse. Admiral Irax gestured for silence. "You humans have always been amusing brave, perhaps, but amusing. Surrender now, and we'll spare you further embarrassment." Mara muted the comms and looked at her team. "Battle stations," she said quietly. "Just in case." All over the ship, old systems hummed to life. Sarah kicked the engineering consoles, coaxing power from battered reactors. Weapons Officer Jin double-checked every torpedo tube and power relay. The ship's AI, an old program named Ava, patched up navigation data and began calculating jump routes. On the display, the Syndicate ships edged closer, weapons gleaming. But inside the Resolute, nobody flinched. The crew had faced worse odds on worse days. This was just another challenge, and the universe would soon remember why humans should never be underestimated. The laughing armada, the starlit expanse outside. The Resolute was suddenly filled with Syndicate warships forming a ring of steel. They broadcast taunts across every channel, mocking the ship's rust, mismatched armor plates, and obsolete weapons. Jin, the weapons officer, smirked. "Guess they've never seen what a desperate human crew can do with a bit of scrap and stubbornness." Sarah and her engineers worked below decks, coaxing another 3% power from the aging fusion core. They'd built a surprise, a new energy array using parts from broken drones and repurposed mining lasers. If it worked, it would make history. If it didn't, well, at least they'd go out with style. On the alien flagship, Admiral Irax addressed the system. "Witness, Galaxy, the end of human arrogance. This ancient wreck will become a warning to all." Inside the Resolute, Mara turned to her comms officer. "Request a demonstration exchange. Let's give them a show." The Syndicate fleet laughed again, but agreed. Mara, smiling, sent the firing coordinates for a friendly weapons test. The crew took their positions, hearts pounding with anticipation. The first volley came from the aliens, a dazzling display of energy bolts, mostly for show. They raked the Resolute's shields, but Sarah's modifications held. Dispersing the impact in a dance of blue and green light, the aliens cheered, convinced they'd already won. Then it was the Resolute's turn. Mara nodded at Jin, who powered up the strange, jury-rigged energy array. The ship hummed and shook. Energy built up along the battered hull, arcs of power, connecting the mismatched armor. For a moment, nothing happened. A syndicate captain jeered. Did it break down? How human. But then, with a sudden flash, a single spiraling bolt shot from the Resolute and lanced across the void. It struck the largest syndicate ship, and, for a heartbeat, time stood still. Then the alien ship vanished, no explosion, no debris, just a ripple in the stars. On every screen, the syndicate commanders froze. The laughter died. Mara leaned forward. This was only a demonstration. I suggest you reconsider your approach. For the first time, fear flickered in Admiral Urek's eyes. The game had changed. The universe had just remembered the first. Rule of space. Never. Ever underestimate a human with nothing to lose? The test and the trap. The void was silent as the syndicate fleet tried to process what had just happened. The flagship had simply vanished, erased by an unknown human weapon. Admiral Urek's voice was tight with disbelief. What did you do? Mara replied, just something we cobbled together in our spare time. We're good at making the impossible work. On the Resolute, Sarah's engineers scrambled to keep the power system stable. The feedback array had almost overloaded, and the reactor was running hot. But they'd pulled it off. But the syndicate wasn't finished. Iraq sparked orders. All ships, full assault. Destroy that human relic. The fleet unleashed a storm. Energy bolts, missiles, and plasma lances struck at the Resolute from all sides. The shields screamed as they absorbed the barrage. The hull groaned. On the bridge, Jin targeted incoming projectiles, while Sarah rerouted power from every non-essential system. The Resolute danced between the attacks. Taking hits, but never giving in? Mara's voice was steady, giving orders, rallying her crew. We've come through worse. Keep fighting. Humanity stands together? In engineering, Sarah rigged a feedback loop, channeling excess energy back into the shields. The ship's AI, Ava, predicted attack patterns, letting Jin intercept the most dangerous volleys. Every crew member from the greenest ensign to the oldest tech moved like a single mind. A syndicate ship tried to board, sending grapplers across the hull. Marines in battered exosuits repelled the attackers, fighting for every meter of corridor. Blood and sparks mixed in the darkness, but the humans pushed them back. Jin found a weak spot in the syndicate formation and launched a spread of kinetic rounds, old-fashioned but deadly. 2 enemy ships went up in flames. Mara broadcast one. Last warning. Leave now or witness what humans do when cornered. The syndicate hesitated, but Erox, pride-wounded, pressed on. The final act was about to begin. All or nothing. The syndicate's attack intensified, filling space with a hurricane of firepower. The Resolute's hull took a beating. Interior alarms blared as fires broke out on multiple decks. Mara kept calm, shouting orders through smoke and static. Crew members passed buckets down the line, doused flames, and patched holes with whatever was on hand. Sarah's engineers crawled through steam-filled corridors, swapping out burnt relays and fusing metal with handheld torches down above. Jin tracked targets with icy focus. The human gunners, battered but unbroken, worked in perfect synchrony. The AI, Ava, patched targeting data directly to their visors, maximizing every shot. The Resolute's main gun once. Just an old mining laser was now a jury-rigged marvel of human creativity. Sarah climbed into the reactor pit, her hand shaking as she pushed the core past safe limits. Give me 5 seconds more. Mara watched as enemy ships closed in. Now, Sarah. The main gun charged, humming louder than before. For a split second, the entire ship seemed to glow. Then it fired a blinding lance of blue-white energy that punched through the Syndicate's command ship, vaporizing it and half the vessels in its shadow. Silence. Wreckage drifted across the stars. The remaining Syndicate ships stopped firing, their crews stunned. Mira's voice rang out. Your admiral is gone. We want peace. But if you push us again, you know what comes next? No more shots were fired. The Syndicate ships began to back away, beaten and terrified. Across the Resolute, exhausted humans cheered. Humanity had done it not through fancy tech, but through ingenuity, courage, and an unbreakable will to survive. Aftermath respect earned the Syndicate survivors limped away, broadcasting a truce. Word of the battle spread across 100 worlds humans. With their rusty old ship, had faced impossible odds and won. Mara opened the channel. To all ships in the Drellin system, the Resolute stands for peace. But never mistake kindness for weakness. Soon, messages poured in from hidden colonies and oppressed peoples. They'd seen the battle. Hope was rekindled. The Syndicate would think twice before bullying anyone again. On the Resolute, the crew patched hull breaches and mourned their losses. Jin and Sarah clinked mugs, exhausted and smiling. Ava played old Earth music across the bridge, crackling. With static but full of life, Mara stood by the main viewport, watching the stars. She thought of all the times humanity had been mocked, underestimated and cornered, and how, again and again, they'd found a way to survive. A message came in from the new Syndicate Admiral. We offer true peace and request technology exchange. Your people have earned our respect, Mara nodded. Let's talk, she replied, and let this be the first day of something better. The Resolute, battered but proud, cruised into the future, not as a relic, but as a symbol of everything that made humanity extraordinary: defiance in the face of mockery, hope in darkness, and the power to inspire the stars.